Polish Messianism is a deep philosophical mentality that helps justify the morality of Polish suffering in history. Today I will be exploring this concept, giving my personal context as someone who was brought up in the Polish education system, as well as cultural, historical, political and philosophical perspectives. Hey Slavic Vikings, and welcome to Poland, the Christ of Europe. Poland has a rich and complex history, and Polish Messianism is an important part of that history. Messianism is the belief that Poland has a special mission in the world, to suffer for and redeem other nations. This belief has its roots in Polish Catholicism, but it has also been influenced by other factors such as Poland's long history of occupation and oppression. I would like to emphasize the literal comparison of Polish suffering to Jesus' suffering for our sins. The idea of Polish Messianism can be tracked back to the 16th century, but it became most prominent in the 19th century after Poland was partitioned by Russia, Prussia and Austria. During this time, many Poles believed that Poland's suffering was necessary for its eventual redemption and the redemption of other nations. Similarly to how Jesus died for our sins. Poland died for the sins of other nations, and then got rebirthed, just like Jesus. One of the most famous examples of Polish Messianism is the figure of Adam Mickiewicz, a Polish poet and playwright who lived in the 19th century. Adam is one of the most popular Polish writers and is very much taught in schools. Mickiewicz wrote many works that expressed his beliefs in Poland's Messianic mission. In his poem, The Forefathers' Eve, he wrote, "Poland is Christ among the nations. We died and rose again for the world." Another example of Polish Messianism is the Warsaw Uprising of 1944. During this uprising, Polish resistance fighters fought against the Nazi occupation of Warsaw. This uprising was eventually crushed by the Nazis, but it became a symbol of Polish courage and resistance. Many Poles saw the Warsaw Uprising as a messianic sacrifice, necessary for the liberation of Poland and other nations. Poland is the country with the most amount of wars in Europe, and with the amount of times it was occupied and oppressed, it can give you an idea of how many uprisings and revolutions it experienced. However, Poland has only had one successful uprising in history, that being the Greater Poland Uprising of 1918. This was a successful uprising against German occupation during World War I. This uprising led to the restoration of the Polish independence after 123 years of partition. Polish revolutionary movements often operated and fought with a pragmatic view that their uprisings would probably fail and catastrophically so. Messianism has always bolstered the Polish spirit. This is a beautiful showcase of how strong the Polish mentality of Messianism is. It often fueled the motivation for entire revolutions and persists to the Polish mentality to this day. In my video on the Polish mentality, I talk about how the Polish mindset is tragically filled by cultural and economic inferiority, with Poland always being less culturally significant compared to the Russians and will never be as rich or influential as its German neighbor. Therefore, Polish Messianism gives a unique sense of pride to the Poles, in a world that often seems to be against it, much how it may have seemed like the world was against Jesus and his missions. Polish Messianism is indoctrinated in Polish schools. Unlike Germany, the Polish education system is very centralized, with the central government deciding what children should learn and under what perspective. Under the current nationalistic party rule, the Polish education system is highly focused on Poland. From geography, history and literature, our schools tell us from a young age that Poland was always the victim and never did anything wrong, reinforcing the Polish messianistic mindset, without necessarily mentioning it directly. Of course, it still mentions it directly when studying literature. Many Poles believe that Poland's Messianic mission is rooted in its Catholic faith. They believe that Poland is a chosen nation and that it has a special responsibility to spread the Catholic faith to the world. This is very evident with the widespread faith of Catholicism in Poland. Nazi Messianism, Russian Messianism, and Slavic Messianism are all forms of Messianism that have developed in different parts of Europe. However, Polish Messianism is unique in its focus on Poland's Catholic identity and its history of suffering. Nazi Messianism was a form of Messianism that developed in Germany in the early 20th century. Nazi Messianism was based on the belief that the German people were a superior race and that they had a special mission to rule the world. Nazi Messianism also drew on elements of Christianity, such as the belief in a messianic figure who would lead the world to salvation. Hitler was often clearly seen in the light of this messianistic salvation figure. Russian Messianism is a form of Messianism that has developed in Russia over the centuries. Russian Messianism is based on the belief that Russia has a special mission to spread orthodoxy to the world and to establish a new world order based on Russian values. Russian Messianism has often been used to justify Russian expansionism and imperialism. Slavic Messianism is a form of Messianism that is based on the belief that Slavic people have a special mission to redeem the world. Slavic Messianism is often associated with the Pan-Slavic movement, which is a movement that seeks to unite all the Slavic peoples into one nation. This painting is called The Battle of Grunwald. It is by Jan Matejko and can be seen as a literal comparison of Poland to Jesus Christ. The painting depicts the victory of the Polish-Lithuanian army over the Teutonic Knights in 1410. This victory is often been a symbol of Poland's messianic mission to defend Christianity from its enemies. Polish Messianism has also had a significant impact on Polish politics. It has been used by Polish politicians to justify both interventionist and isolationist foreign policies. For example, Polish Messianism was used to justify Poland's participation in the Iraq War of 2003. The novel Quo Vadis by Henryk Sienkiewicz is a historical novel that tells the story of the persecution of Christians in ancient Rome. The novel was written at a time when Poland was under Russian occupation, and it was seen by many Poles as an allegory for their own suffering. Polish Messianism is a complex and important part of Polish history and culture. It has had a significant impact on the way that Polish people see themselves and their place in the world. Polish Messianism can be seen as a response to Poland's long history of suffering. Poles have often seen themselves as victims of injustice and oppression. Messianism provides a way for Poles to make sense of their suffering and to find hope for the future. Much like how Jesus gives hope to his followers by suffering for our sins. I see Polish Messianism as a response to Poland's long history of suffering. Poles have often seen themselves as victims of injustice and oppression. Messianism provides a way for Poles to make sense of their suffering and to find hope for their future. Much like how billions of people every day find sense in religion to justify their suffering in this cruel world. In conclusion, Polish Messianism focuses on the comparison between Poland and Jesus. It is the idea that Poland is the Christ of Europe. This idea is based on the belief that Poland has a special mission to spread Catholic faith and to defend Europe from its enemies, or sacrifice themselves as they often do. It is easy to find political context to the latter point. For example, the Polish's hard stance against any non-Christian migrants. Poland's support for the independence of Ukraine in the early 90s was inspired also by Polish Messianism. Poland saw itself as having a special responsibility to help Ukraine achieve independence, and it provided Ukraine with financial and military assistance, much as how it does nowadays. Poland's support for Ukraine was seen by many Poles as a way to fulfill Poland's Messianic mission to spread freedom and democracy to the world. Polish Messianism is a complex and important part of Polish history and culture. It has had a significant impact on the way Polish people see themselves and their place in the world. It is important to understand Polish Messianism in order to understand Poland and its role in the world today. I hope you enjoyed this video. I would love to read your perspective on this in the comments below. So like, comment, subscribe, and as always, farewell, żegnam, and goodbye.